In this edition, we join Canberra off Gibraltar as she celebrates her 25th birthday. We put the chairman on the spot and invite you to fire the questions. We share Ramadan with the GP crew on board the Sun Princess. Discover why a captain is landlocked in Southampton. And there's the most amazing cocktail challenge ever. Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the programme, and a great variety this month. A lot has happened since I was last sitting here. New brochures are out, ships are on the move, sparkling new advertising campaigns about to be launched. Trying to keep track of it all has been no easy task. The group has been busy too. Remember those two deals we mentioned last month, the takeovers of OCL and stock conversion? Well, they've gone through and now are firmly part of the growing P&O family. Our fleet has been on the move too. The Sun Princess has joined the Royal Princess, Pacific Princess and the Island Princess in Alaska. Before she crossed into the Pacific, we were on board in the Caribbean and filmed her visit to Palm Island, a tiny speck of land in the Grenadines. The approach to the island can be tricky, navigating through shallow waters, avoiding the reefs. In fact, as Captain Bob Ellingham told us, despite all the wonders of modern electronics, the channel which leads to Palm Island is located using more basic navigation techniques.
We still use a point of land and a shed that's behind with a green roof to line up to come in. And we are still using that today.
That's Union Island, Palm Island's big neighbour. Palm Island itself is on the right, and the approach is made just between the jetty and the shop. The waters around Palm Island were carefully surveyed, and although there are reefs and shoal ground all around, there is a safe channel right up to the beach. But even so, it requires a certain amount of nerve to take a 17,000-ton cruise ship where usually only small yachts go, a fact which is probably alarming these yachts as they glance up to see the Sun Princess right on their stern.
I hope so, because the agreement with the owner of the island is that our particular anchorage is kept clear. Somehow this never happens, and we find these yachts impeding the position where we want to drop our anchor. And so I use what I would call gentle persuasion. And usually when they look up and see us towering over them and bearing down on them, they very often up anchor and disappear very quickly. We drop anchor around about 0.9 at the cable, and the cable being 600 feet. So we're anchored about 500 feet off the beach, or drop the anchor 500 feet off the beach, which is one ship length. So it stands to reason that if the ship did suddenly swing around, then the ship would be aground. But we rely on the fact that the trade winds always blow from the same direction, and therefore the ship lays away from the beach.
Hardly has the anchor bedded itself into the white sand when work begins getting supplies ashore. The island is virtually uninhabited, and so everything from rum punchers to rubbish bags has to be brought in from the ship. This is the first of 3 crew boats which ferry staff and supplies to the beach. And this is Palm Island's passenger terminal, complete with limousine transport. In all, more than 1,000 people will be ferried between ship and shore before the day's out, with everyone lending a hand. It's not only the cruise highlight for the passengers, but a popular stop for the crew as well. No sooner is the first boat ashore than the rest follow, and it will be like this throughout the day, a constant shuttle service between the ship and the beach. It's an informal day with the official uniform for all ranks being a Sun Princess t-shirt. Headgear is optional. The restaurant and bar staff set off to work. With them, gallons of punch, chilled and in vacuum tubs, pounds of burgers, all to be set up before the first passengers come ashore. They're frying tonight on Palm Island. We'll be returning there later in the programme to see what's cooking. Starting in December, the ships are going to be visiting a different island. A 5-year contract has been signed, giving P&O Cruises exclusive rights to Mayrow, another small island to the north, and work will soon start on building a landing stage, barbecues, picnic tables, gramophone, 8 records, everything that's needed for the ideal desert island. Now, you probably noticed during that visit to Palm Island the activities of some of the ship's company who were dressed in blue. Now, they're the GP, or General Purpose Crew. They're all Pakistanis, and they're an enormously popular bunch, so we thought it was about time we learnt more about the GP crews. There are more than 200 Pakistani GP crew members in the fleet. They work on deck, in the engine room, and on the bridge. The Chief Petty Officer is in charge of the GP crew, and they play a vital role when the ship enters and leaves port, handling the warps and ensuring the ship is securely docked. Their loyalty and reliability are legendary in the fleet, as are their smiling faces, making them one of the most popular groups on board, liked and respected by everyone. They have their own mess room and galley with food specially prepared in accordance with their Muslim religion. There are 3 ranks, GP1, 2 and 3, GP1 being the most senior. It's lunchtime in the GP mess room on board the Sun Princess, but these 26 men will neither eat nor drink. It's Ramadan, a month-long sacred festival during which time they're forbidden to eat or drink between sunrise and sunset.
They will not eat until sunset. Although they are hungry or they are thirsty, it does no matter for them.
You can see, everybody is looking hungry, thirsty.
However, when Ramadan ends, there is a great celebration shared by all on the ship.
There's a happy, very happy day, same like the Christmas day. We give parties to the other people and they party us, and you know, that's a very ceremonial day, actually.
The smart appearance of the Princess ships is entirely due to the efforts of the GP crew.
A lot of job to do, especially the maintenance of the ship. That depends on us. You can see the condition of the ship. It's clean or better, you can see that, but it depends on these 26 people. So they do job and all the time working there and keep the ship clean and up to date.
Some of the areas which need most frequent attention are often in the most awkward places. This demands some ingenuity and a generous helping of determination to make sure the work can be completed. Even what seems like a simple task, a bit of painting, can pose problems, especially when the object to be painted is the anchor. Every time the anchor's dropped, some paint is knocked off, and so it's given a fresh coat of paint at the next port. The lifeboats are essential safety equipment, and they are kept in good condition, continually checked and maintained to ensure their immediate readiness should an emergency occur. Without the GP crew, the ships would be a less attractive and a less friendly place. The first of a series of quarterly board meetings was held last month in London, attended by directors from all branches of the company. It provided an opportunity for wide-ranging discussion on a variety of topics, and afterwards the chairman, Christopher Stuart Smith, described the meeting as useful and productive. crew members of the Sun Princess raced their ship through the Panama Canal during its transit from the Caribbean to Alaska. Organiser Fred Anderson joined wine waiter Neil Saxon and trumpeter Peter Johnson on a 57-mile sponsored run to raise money for spina bifida victims. They completed the run in 8 hours, 4 minutes, 25 seconds, but the ship just beat them, having had a very fast transit. During training in the Caribbean, we asked Neil Saxon why he was doing it.
Why am I doing this? I've asked myself this question many times. I think there's a piece of an idiot in me somewhere that says it seems like a good thing to do at the time.
And how much practice have you had for it?
We've been running about 80 miles a week for 6 days a week for the last 3 months, 3.5 months. So some fairly varied terrain in that as well.
It's a long way. How long is it going to take you?
Hoping between 8 and 10 hours, depending on fatigue towards the end of the run.
We are taking enough liquid, which is the main factor, fluid, and of course the only two things that we can see ourselves suffering from other than fatigue is actually heat exhaustion and dehydration. Now, we've prepared ourselves quite well for both of those, plus the surgeons give us some advice, and we're carrying the ship's nursing sister along with us to assist if anybody does come down with heat exhaustion or anything like that. We hope to be prepared for it.
They've just arrived back at the ship after a depletion run. What's that, we asked?
This is a very good question. It's a long run, and instead of coming back to the ship and eating normally and packing lots of carbohydrates in, I'm going to try and not eat anything that might possibly contain carbohydrates for about 2 days. This will effectively wipe any sort of personality out, and I will be very low in energy. Then towards the end of this 2-day cycle, I'll be able to start eating carbohydrates again. The idea is that your body, because it's been depleted, will cling more readily to carbohydrates, and hopefully come the day I will have more than my fair share. It's a bit of an experiment really, but it sounds interesting and fun.
And Pete, is this a technique that you've adopted as well?
No, I'll just keep on eating hot dogs, hamburgers, French fries and anything else I like.
So far, they've raised more than £3,000. Further donations to the Spina Bifida charity should be sent to care of the Deputy Captain of the Sun Princess. 2 new brochures have just been published by Princess Cruises. One covering the Caribbean, Trans-Canal and Mexican Riviera, the other the Orient, China and the South Pacific. The centre of the world's insurance markets, Lloyd's of London, moved into new premises this month built by P&O Group subsidiary Bovis. The modern design by award-winning architect Richard Rogers is a major landmark on the city's skyline. And finally, Canberra celebrated her 25th birthday on June the 2nd in Gibraltar.
She arrived here at the Rock with passengers and crew in festive mood. On board there was a free prize draw and all the passengers received a silver gift. The highlight of the day was a champagne party with a huge birthday cake, and in the evening she anchored off Gibraltar for a gala dinner. Afterwards, passengers and crew lined the rails for a spectacular fireworks display managed by the Royal Engineers.
And our best wishes as well to the Canberra. Now, you may remember that last month we invited you to tell us what you wanted to see in each programme. Well, one idea which came from the Royal Princess was to put senior management on the spot and put some searching questions to them. Well, we said to the chairman, how about it? Would you come in and be quizzed? And I'm delighted to say that he's accepted our invitation. He's with me now. In fact, better than that, this is going to be a regular feature of our programme. Christopher Stewart-Smith, welcome. That could be a very hot seat for you. Why have you decided to do it?
Well, I prefer to be on the ships, of course, where I can see people face to face and field questions, but this is the next best thing, I suppose, so I'm extremely delighted to have the opportunity.
And no questions barred?
No questions barred.
Right, OK. As the idea came from the Royal Princess, we thought it only fair that she starts us off. So on the line now, live by satellite from the Pacific Ocean, somewhere between Vancouver and San Francisco, we have Captain John King. Captain King, your question, please, to the chairman.
The question I have concerns the profit share scheme, and a number of people are wondering on board why the P&O management appear to be so insistent that all officers join the scheme, when surely it should be a voluntary scheme?
I think that's an easy one to answer, John. It is entirely voluntary, totally voluntary. Basically, the whole thing is a great benefit to those who can take it up, and we were very concerned to get over the message that it's part of the philosophy of getting people to share in whatever success we are able to create.
Does that answer your question, Captain King?
Yes, thank you very much.
Good. Thank you very much for joining us. Good sailing to you. Our next question comes from Chief Officer Bernie Warner. Your question, please, to the Chairman.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Bernie.
Assuming that the fleet remains as it is at present, will the departmental structures be changed? And if so, will this mean further redundancies amongst officers and ratings, with a possible change in the officers' contracts?
I think that I could best answer that by saying that we're going through a total review of the whole organisation and structure of P&O Cruises, as I think you know, and the purpose of that is to increase our effectiveness and make sure we do the job better of serving passengers. Now, we started off in the shore offices where we've been cutting our overhead substantially, and as you know, we moved into the hotel areas of the Princess ships where certain changes are in train at the moment. Of course, the officer structure is not sacrosanct either. We will be getting into that in due course, same as every other area. I can't say at this point in time what changes are likely to be proposed. All I can say is when it comes to that, those changes will be presented and discussed fully with everybody concerned. And I don't think there's any secret about this because it was all foreshadowed in the discussions we had with the officers' representatives in Warsash last summer.
He did ask specifically about redundancy. Now, from what you're saying, I gather you don't rule that out.
I don't rule out redundancies at all in any part.
At all levels?
At all levels, in any part of P&O Cruises. Whatever is right to do to make us effective and competitive, that we will seek to do.
Does that answer your question, Chief Officer Warner?
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Good, thank you very much for joining us. Let's go now to Jimmy Shaw, Senior Second Engineering Officer. Your question, please, to the Chairman, Mr. Shaw.
We feel on board that more aggressive marketing is required. We feel the company should stop playing advertising on the Love Boat theme, and besides, the programme is now about to come off the air. We feel a new approach is required. So what are we going to do about our advertising?
Thank you for the question. I'm extremely encouraged there should be so much interest in that from the ships. I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's a consensus of opinion that you're right throughout the company. I agree with you, the Love Boat theme is yesterday's story. I think that the advertising needs a fresh approach. I think it needs more impact. That's what we're working on. And I hope you'll see, and in your turn, be encouraged by the kind of thing that we can come up with in due course.
OK, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Shaw. Let's go to Assistant Purser Gillian Ray. Your question, please, Gillian.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Gillian.
My question is about duty-free ports. We feel that going to duty-free ports, for example, St. Thomas, surely careful price marking and advertising availability of on-board goods and alcohol would increase on-board revenue.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. And curious enough, I picked up the same point myself when I was down in St. Thomas on the Royal Princess not so very long ago. I think it's absolutely right, that point. And I'd like to try and answer it by saying this. You know, it's part of our policy that decisions should be made as close to the scene of the action as possible. And this is one which you, actually on board the Royal Princess, are probably in a better position to make suggestions about than we can from London. And I would really like to see some proposals as to how you and colleagues on board think we might address that problem.
Back to you, Gillian. The Chairman expects to hear from you, OK? Let's go to David Turner, Third Officer. Your question, please, David Turner.
There's concern amongst all the officer departments about the large number of officers in acting ranks. Do you think that the establishment should be renewed, as many people are concerned about the length of time before they're substantive in the rank?
Now, I think the first thing to do would be to find out accurately what the facts are as to how long people are serving in acting ranks. I will try and get at that particular question and see if we can get out the facts and try and resolve the problem. I think it's well worth bringing up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David Turner, for that question. Thank you, everyone on board the Royal Princess, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Pleasure to be with you.
Good. Now, if you have a question that you would like the chairman to answer, this is what you do. Let me have your questions. You can either drop me a line, I'll give you the address in a minute, or through your deputy captain or manager, you can telex me care of the Southampton office. Now, if you don't want to reveal your name, we will still accept your question, but it would help to know your ship or office. Here's the address if you want to write. Taylor Made Films, 3 Chilworth House, Chilworth Mews, London, W2 3RG, England. And if you send a telex, mark it for the attention of our producer, Trevor Taylor, care of P&O, Southampton. And you could be in for some interesting questions and perhaps some tough questions too.
I would look forward to it.
Please don't go yet, because from the ship that brought you the running wine waiter and the trumpeter, we have now got the water skiing barman. Must be something about that ship.
Here we are having fun on the sun, here on Palm Island. My entry for the cocktail challenge is a strawberry Romanoff, consisting of a shot of Russian vodka, strawberry mix, a good shot of Grand Marnier, shaken very vigorously, strained up into an 8-ounce glass, topped with whipping cream, a little colouring with green creme de menthe, garnished with a cherry, straws. My entry for the cocktail challenge.
Wow! This is the winner from the Sun Princess.
Right, enough of this frivolity. Time to go to Southampton. Inside these offices, an important experiment is underway, designed to improve links between the ships and shore bases. This is Ian Tomkins, a captain, now navigating his way around desks and corridors instead of rocks and reefs. He's just arrived in Southampton as shore captain after some 30 years at sea.
I think one of the first difficulties I had is the decision-making process. At sea, it's pretty well defined, but I find on virtually every subject I touch, you know, I've always got to think about you know, who else is involved, where else does it relate to, and I'm finding that difficult. The actual feed-in to make a decision is perhaps the biggest difference I found.
Captain John King is now back on the Royal Princess. He was the first shore captain, spending 6 months in bringing fresh seagoing experience to the office and in return learning about essential office routines.
I had the position of an assistant general manager fleet, and as such I had 3 ships in particular which I was responsible for, the Canberra, the Sea Princess and the Pacific Princess. But obviously I was fairly green when I first went ashore, and I had to rely on other people to a great deal, and everyone was extremely helpful. And I felt by the end of the 6 months that I'd gained quite a lot out of it, and also that I had become useful in my own right ashore.
After just 4 weeks behind a desk, what benefits has Ian Tomkins discovered?
A lot more appreciation. People who I've just known as either letters or people I've even met just in a fleeting sort of social way. I realize they're much more of their own particular and very valuable skills in a particular field. Much more appreciation of it, and much more patient, I think, with the fact that at sea you expect everything. If you send a telex from the ship, you expect an answer, bang, like that, with the right answer. And I've now got a much greater appreciation of how it just can't happen.
Initially, I found it difficult, but I settled into it, and I did enjoy it. I was a bit unfortunate that I was there during the winter. I'm sure if I'd been in there in the summer, I'd have enjoyed it a bit more. I didn't feel that settled as I normally do in a ship. Having worked in ships for so many years, when I join a ship, I feel part of it. Did my own cooking from time to time, found out where the laundrette was, all the normal mundane things that one doesn't think. But I got to know how to do these things.
Learn to appreciate what we do enjoy at sea tremendously. I mean, drives anybody in the country could have to get in this office through the New Forest. Even that half-an-hour journey, it seems like an awful long half an hour to me. And it's funny how I never appreciate how the good side of just being able to pop up the bridge and be in charge. My days are very, very full. I spend a lot of hours in the office, and I really don't watch the clock at all, which is quite extraordinary for me. I really didn't think I'd feel myself as involved as I am. I'm learning slowly how to deal with paperwork coming from that tray going across into there, and as you sit, you see there's a lot there and none over there.
I think the shore captain should be there for 12 months. I think there would be more use when they're ashore if they're there for 12 months. In the 6 months, you have begun, as I said, to become useful, and once that's sort of happening and you know who to ask various questions, you know where to go to, and then you suddenly find that you're back at sea again. Perhaps the shore captain who is ashore might not agree with me, or those who are about to do it, but I would think that 12 months would be more beneficial all around than the 6 months.
Captain John King there. Well, it is nearly time to go, but a few things to mention before I do say goodbye. There has been some confusion over these cassettes. Now, we have been asked if you can copy them. Well, I'm delighted to say that this is the one video that you can pirate as much as you like. There are spare copies on every ship and in every office, so borrow one and take a copy to send to friends or family. Now, if it's the wrong format, and remember the UK video standard is different from the American one, then we can send a new cassette home for you. It costs £9.90, and again, order forms are on every ship and in every office. Now, in the next programme, we'll discover how the Royal Princess shapes up to the cocktail challenge. I'm frightened to think what they're going to do to top the sun's entry. They'll be up amongst the glaciers of Alaska, so at least they'll have enough ice for the drinks. We'll be taking a preview of some new cabins on the Sea Princess and looking behind the scenes at P&O Lines in Southampton. And we do have a surprise for you, but that must remain a secret for the moment. But now it is time to return to Palm Island in the Caribbean, just as the passengers begin to come ashore. Until next time, goodbye and good cruising.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to sunny Palm Island. On the count of 3, have a nice wave and a cheer for the camera. 1, 2, 3. Right. I'd like to ask you to please remain seated and keep your hands and arms in.
There is sea, sand, and palm trees, thrown in with the Caribbean flavor of rum punches and steel bands, and it is a beach party, and that is what they go ashore for. It is the highlight of the cruise for a vast majority of the people on board.